Hello and welcome again to this Come to Jesus Daily devotional. I trust you're well. We continue in the Gospel of Luke, exploring who Jesus is. Today's our devotional is entitled, Today This is Fulfilled. Let's read from Luke 4, 20-22. Then he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant and sat down. The eyes of everyone in the synagogue were fastened on him, saying to them, he said, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." All spoke well of him and were amazed at the gracious words that came from his lips. "Isn't this Joseph's son?" they asked. That's Luke 4, 20-22. So what's our lesson today? Don't allow overfamiliarity to rob you of worship and expectation. Don't allow overfamiliarity to rob you of worship and expectation. Jesus is the Messiah. By saying, "Today the scripture is fulfilled in your hearing," Jesus is declaring that the prophecy of Isaiah is being fulfilled in him and through him. Jesus is claiming to be the Messiah, the Christ, the coming King that has been promised. Messiah is a title that derives from the Hebrew word translated anointed in Isaiah 61, verse 1. Jesus makes the amazing claim that the prophecy about the Messiah's ministry to the poor, the prisoners, the captives, the blind, the oppressed was being fulfilled in him. Jesus is powerfully at work. His words, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing," has amazing promise for us. Too often, on reading a text like this, we apply it directly to ourselves, to how we can be the answer to the world's problems and how we can help everybody to come to faith and put so much weight on ourselves. Now, of course, the church has a great part to play in serving Jesus, as we saw in our last devotional. But ultimately, it is Jesus who is fulfilling this prophecy. The weight of responsibility is with him. Anything that we do is by the grace of God and by the empowering of the Spirit. The fulfillment of this prophecy is being executed by Christ through his work on the cross and his giving of the Spirit and through his sovereign will. Overfamiliarity, though, can lead many to disrespect Jesus. Initially, those listening in the synagogue spoke well of him and were amazed at his gracious words that came from his lips. They were being entertained by his oratory, whilst the message had yet to hit home. They were impressed that Joseph's son, the son of a carpenter and not a well-educated person, had such an ability to speak publicly. They were entertained by him, whilst also patronizing him. Overfamiliarity with Jesus, who had grown up among them, was robbing them of receiving him as they should and needed to. As this narrative continues, we will see their love of his speaking mixed with disrespect for his person turn to hatred of him and of his message. So in response, don't allow overfamiliarity to rob you of worship and expectation. We may not have grown up with Jesus in Nazareth, but many of us maybe have grown up knowing Jesus. Maybe we've grown up in church. Maybe we've been a Christian for a long time. We've heard talks like this many times, and we can become over familiar with him and his words. If we don't pray big things and expect big things, we may well have fallen into being entertained by the things of the Christian life, whilst not expecting the message and works of the kingdom to be seen among us. So let's read the Bible, the whole of Luke chapter 4, for example, with open eyes and hearts that lead to adoration, esteem, and expectation. God bless you.